Just pretend this video is coming out in 2025, as I'm going to be doing a review of 3 Disney Animation Studios movies from the year 2000, which meant they celebrated their 25th anniversary in 2025. That would be Fantasia 2000, Dinosaur, and The Emperor's New Groove. As a self-proclaimed Disney animation historian, the year 2000 was the only year in the history of Walt Disney Animation Studios where 3 films came out. Now, to make things clear, those are movies that are pure Disney animation, as in not Pixar or Toon Studios theatrical movies like a Goofy movie, or direct-to-video type theatrical stuff like Return to Neverland. Nope, in the history of films from Snow White and Seven Dwarfs to the most recent in Zootopia 2, and it's only happened once. Where I get a bit nostalgic is that these were the first Disney movies I remember as a kid. I talked about this in my recent How the Grinch Stole Christmas 25th anniversary review, that the year 2000 was my first memories of movies as a kid, as I was only 5 years old. But I remember seeing the trailers and commercials for Fantasia 2000 and thinking, what the is this weird but pretty looking movie with Donald Duck on Noah's Ark? And then being wowed by this talking dinosaur movie back when dinosaurs were all the rage. And then watching The Emperor's New Groove, which ended up being one of the signature VHS tapes I would watch over and over again when I was young. Unfortunately, because I had the first memories of movies in 2000, that meant I just missed out on experiencing the most epic era in Disney animation, which was the Renaissance period from 1989 to 1999, where Disney animation became an absolute juggernaut, making some of the best features to date. To miss out on this era by just a few years really sucks. I had memories of the final film from this era, Tarzan, through commercials, advertising, and even toys, even though I actually didn't see the movie back then. The year 2000 was the start of a new era in Disney animation history, known mostly as the experimental era, and more morbidly as the Second Dark Age. Where the experimental name comes from is how this era of animation strayed from the formula in the 90s, where they took classic stories and applied modern filmmaking techniques with Broadway musical flair. Instead, this experimental era of films from 2000's Fantasia 2000 to 2008's Bolt was very random in terms of unique features that didn't always scream classic Disney. That doesn't mean they were all bad. Some of them were very good, some became cult classics, although there were some notable ones that really did f***ing suck. To get in the mood for this review, I did a triple feature marathon, like I did for my 1995 30th anniversary Disney review of a Goofy movie, Pocahontas, and Toy Story. This time watching these 2000 features in Fantasia 2000, Dinosaur, and The Emperor's New Groove, back to back to back. I'll start off first with Fantasia 2000. The movie had a limited release in 1999, but had its full theatrical release in January 2000. Hence the name, Fantasia 2000. Yeah, no sh**. It's a conceptual sequel to the original Fantasia. In this sequel, we again see a collection of stories and imagery set to an orchestrated score. The same concept as the first Fantasia, which came out in 1940. Just the third Disney animated film ever, behind Snow White and Pinocchio. Fantasia is a unique movie concept, obviously not a traditional story feature, but that movie was just a juggernaut as far as artistry. That classic golden age animation, plus the musical selection and stories chosen, made it special. It's home to 2 of the most iconic Disney segments ever, in The Sorcerer's Apprentice and Night on Bald Mountain. Apparently, Fantasia 2000 got greenlit after an early 90s re-release of the original Fantasia was successful. I'll give credit to Fantasia 2000 for having some visual diversity. It's not all done in the same 90s Disney animation style. Most of the segments are, but you have some that are more CG 3D reliant, like the whales and the toy soldier. But there are some ones that are more cartoony in flair, like the flamingos and Rhapsody in Blues. On a technical level, this movie is pretty good, whether it's the actual music, the visuals and animation, and the synchronization of both. I'm amazed by this process in any animation medium. Nothing, though, can compare to the animation of that first film, which is where that movie may be more of a product of its time. Without that masterfully fluid golden age animation style, and the stories that went with them, this movie ends up feeling like a somewhat empty experience by comparison. You can still appreciate this sequel on its own merits, for its technical precision and beauty behind it. If I'm being honest though, the first half of this movie kinda bored the out of me, but it was the final 3 original stories in the Flamingos, Donald on Noah's Ark, and the Firebird that were pretty entertaining. The Noah's Ark segment being the highlight moment for Donald and Daisy's relationship in their history. It's only an hour-length feature though, and that's with them including the original 9-minute Sorcerer's Apprentice as one of these segments. That's what makes this feel like a misguided attempt of a movie, which ends up being just mediocre. It's even more baffling that after a full decade of rich stories features from the Renaissance period, you then get this movie that follows. Probably my favorite way to enjoy this film is to just look at pictures of it, as some of the wallpaper and collective promotional imagery does look beautiful.
Disney Pictures Fantasia 2000, the IMAX experience, rated G. Now playing in IMAX theaters worldwide.
Next up was Dinosaur, which released May of 2000. The movie felt huge back in the day, with dinosaurs being all the rage thanks to Jurassic Park, The Land Before Time, and even Barney. So when Disney decided to get in on the dinosaur craze, it made it feel like a big event for kids. Hell, I remember being excited with the Happy Meal toys. It tells the story of an iguanodon named Aladar and his extended family of monkeys, seeking refuge and travel with other dinosaurs after a devastating meteor attack. Visually, it's one of the weirdest films ever produced, in terms of how a lot of the backgrounds and scenery were actually shot in normal live-action style, and then of course your dinosaurs being 3D animated. I've always found it weird that this film counts as an official Walt Disney Animation Studios film, because of how the visuals were done, but I don't make the rules. These visuals were probably pretty good back then, but in the context of modern viewings, this has to be one of the most visually ugly films I've ever seen. The nature of being a CG animated film produced 30 years ago means you get some rendering quality that's a bit outdated. Now, I've always wondered why it really feels that way now when other 90s products like Toy Story 2 or Jurassic Park still look good today. What I realize is that it might be because of the live action backgrounds, and then when you combine that with the animated characters, it makes your dinosaurs look a bit dated. With the exception of the Carnotauruses, which looked great, as if all the money was spent on those guys. But the movie just has this ugly dryness to it, in part because of its setting, but the rendering quality and just the way the visuals are done just don't really look all that good. It's the problem with 3D animation in general. You give something a decade or two after release and it's going to look dated. Even if the visuals don't make or break the film for you, the characters will absolutely put you to sleep here. There's no fun personalities, no real rewarding character arcs, boring side characters. Everything here is just a poor man's version of The Lion King. What single-handedly saves this movie from modern-day futility is the meteor scene. This is one intense, dark scene amongst the darkest in the history of Disney animation, rivaled only by the f***ed-up imagery and moments from Disney's Golden Age features. For a kids' movie, this is a pretty damn scary scene, but that's what makes it stand out as a major highlight. Part of the problem, though, is that it happens early-ish in the film, and then it's all downhill from there. It's not like there aren't okay moments throughout, but in the big picture, it's a hell no, especially the farther away you get from the year 2000.
Oh, hell no!
Which isn't to say I don't still have some nostalgic appreciation and Disney trying to do something different. The movie was a nice box office success when it came out, kind of a result of that dinosaur craze from the early 2000s. It also led to a fun ride at Disney's Animal Kingdom at Walt Disney World, although the fact that that ride is permanently closing in February shows even Disney doesn't care much for this film now.
Stand together! Dinosaur, rated PG.
And then we have The Emperor's New Groove, the final of this Disney 2000 trio, which came out in December. Of these 3 films, it's the only one that went on to have any kind of real cultural relevance in the decades after its release, despite being a box office flop when it came out. In an ancient Inca empire, a selfish young emperor named Cusco is turned into a llama by his scheming royal advisor.
What? A llama? He's supposed to be dead!
It's a mega trip of an adventure because of its comedic tone and dialogue, making it feel very unique in the catalog of Disney animated films. It's the main quad of characters that make it a fun adventure to follow. Kuzco's journey with the peasant Pacha to turn back into a human. There can't be a more initially unlikable prick of a douche Disney protagonist than Kuzco was. When you see the kind of life he lives and the way he treats others, it's not exactly hard to want to see him get his comeuppance. What saves him initially is that he is pretty damn funny. He's got some nice but not overdone fourth wall moments, but the character's personality plays well off Pacha, who is nothing but likable. John Goodman had the perfect casting and characters for Disney films, with this movie and then Monsters, Inc. a year later. But the villains are just as iconic. Yzma falls more into the category of comedic Disney villains like Captain Hook or Hades, but still has the kind of ruthless, murderous intent and crazed personality that makes her a force to be dealt with.
Yzma!
What?
Oh!
This had better be good!
And then Kronk is just everything in this movie. Has there ever been a more lovable accomplice in attempted murder? Patrick Warburton's voice is so good in everything he's in, and it works for this character perfectly. This movie's comedic touch is really its signature, thankfully not relying on any childish shenanigans, but just natural quips, lines, and moments that work for the characters. But then there are those moments that just can't be explained, but have now become iconic.
Pull the lever, Kronk.
What's with the chimp and the bug? Can we get back to me?
Uh-oh.
Don't tell me. We're about to go over a huge waterfall.
Yep,
Sharp rocks at the bottom?
most likely.
Bring it on.
There's no kind of playbook for stuff like that. Sometimes you just gotta get lucky. Visually, the movie is fine, although it doesn't compare to a majority of the stuff from the 90s. Don't do a side-by-side comparison of this movie and then like Tarzan or The Hunchback of Notre Dame, because you'll see which ones had more money spent behind them. But the characters, humor, and friendship development make this one excellent Disney adventure.
Excellent.
The movie bombing was likely a result of declining interest in Disney animation, perhaps because of the first two films reviewed here, and the fact that there was a full decade of excellence prior, to which nothing lasts forever. Although the late 90s and early 2000s were the turning point for where CG animated films were taken over. But 2 decades plus later, whether because of the fun of this movie, the fun behind the Emperor's New School TV show, and of course all the memes to follow, helped the Emperor's New Groove find its unorthodox place in the pantheon of Disney animated classics. And there you have it with a triple feature Disney 25th anniversary review. An oddball trio of films, but it nicely represents the ups and downs of Disney's post-90s, pre-2010s era. So that'll do it for this Disney 2000 triple feature review. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.
I'm so proud of you guys.